lead. He's always the one in charge.
You know
he's the one who stabs
in
him.
charge.
Yeah, he's the one who stabs Frodo. There's this menace constantly, and they're in all three movies, and he's this menace that's constantly chasing them.
And if you see the extended edition of the Return of the King, he is the one that breaks Gandalf's staff, and you go, Gandalf the White, who's supposed to be the most powerful, now he's the most powerful wizard in the whole of Middle Earth, doesn't stand a chance against this thing. What's going to defeat it? It's a woman with a sword, which is awesome. Yeah. Which, by the way, the movie does have it wrong. The prophecy does not say a man can't kill him; it just says a man won't. Right. The movie's like, no man can kill me. No, it's no man will kill
That's
you.
the coolest thing.
It's not a big deal.
That's the coolest thing about that. That's why I love that character, because he got so arrogant. That's why
he's like, nobody on this battlefield can defeat.
No one can. Yeah, and then
then she's like, I am no man.
That's one of the things I didn't like about people Liv Tyler being the one who ends up fighting. Because it's so special in the books, because she's literally the only woman in all of those books that
who's fighting, right?
And she does something amazing with it, and it's like, this is so cool, and it kind of weakens it when it's like, oh, all elven women fight, and the Hobbit, and it's just like,
and I mean, you know that like Arwen can wield a blade, but she's not. Women are not. That's not their job to be the. They're not. It's not their job to be the warriors in the books.
And I mean, I personally, there's nothing. I have no major issue with it. It just weakens that moment of revelation for me. Yeah,
but I agree with both of you that it didn't make my list, and I'm sad it didn't. But a Lord of the Rings villain, I agree with both of you guys that those two are incredible villains.
Wonderful.
A ring, basically, is a villain. That's kind of fun.
Technically.
How many times are a piece of jewelry the actual villain? And the Horcruxes don't count.
Yeah.
Well,
I thought that the eye always pierced my soul.
Well,
that's true.
It would be like, it would stare at you and be like, what did you do now?
Yeah. Well, you get this introduction with the first one where it's just like, oh, Sauron's there, and the wind literally sucks into him.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's just a pause, and it's just you see how much taller he is than everyone else. He was supposed to come back in the Battle of the Black Gates. Oh, They shot the whole scene, and that whole troll fight was Sauron.
Yeah. Even though he doesn't actually do that in the books, but it would have been cool.
I'm glad they didn't do it. I'm glad I got to see some of the fights, and I got to see what they were planning on doing with it, but I'm glad they
it was, great villains.
Yeah.
Cinematically, they were fantastic. The whole series was awesome. Except for The Hobbit. But
well, I don't count The Hobbits.
Yeah.
Those three movies are, to be frank, I'll go back to being Sam in a second, but I'm going to be frank for a second. In my opinion, the three best movies probably ever made.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
For what they're not necessarily my three favorite movies. Now, they're up there.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But three best movies ever made.
The blending of everything that they did it's beyond
incredible. Incredible.
I want to tell a story really quick, because it was actually, I was actually on a different podcast, and we were talking about The Hobbit.
You have a different podcast?
I have a couple. Yeah, I'm cheating on you guys. It was really funny because...
Feel cheapened.
Yeah, that's fine. You guys are gonna be on me, so.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
It was really funny because I was talking to someone who didn't know that the first Hobbit movie was one of three.
Yeah.
So he was watching it, and they get to the top, and they're like, "There it is." And so I think the worst is behind us, and then it cuts to credits. And he's like, Wait,
what happened?
What? They didn't go there or back again.
They made it 5 steps and they're done.
I'm done.
Well, I've done all I can do. All right, Drucker, who's your number 3? And I've already said my number 3, so we'll jump to 2 after this.
My number 3 was Thanos.
Okay.
Which is my number 2.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I was close with putting him number 2. I was really, really close.
He was my agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But I thought Thanos was such a menacing villain. Like you said.
Yep.
He is the one that nobody can beat him.
I feared for the hero from the very beginning of that movie.
Yeah.
And
when he demolishes the Hulk, you go, uh-oh.
Well, what was interesting is the more I watch it, the more I like Infinity War. But at the beginning of Infinity War, it reminds me a lot of A New Hope when the Tantive is attacked.
Yeah.
And you meet Vader for the first time, this menacing villain stepping over all these dead bodies.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of that. And this time it's with, like, Thor. If you've followed
Thor is defeated.
If you've followed the whole MCU to this point, you know how powerful these characters are. They're really
especially
not defeated.
Thor and the Hulk.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he just and Loki is supposed to be not as powerful, like strong, but he's powerful in that he's a trickster and all that kind of stuff.
And with Loki having been a villain before, and like again, you guys don't like him as much, but he was terrified of Thanos,
right?
And you could see it on his face. You could see
from the Avengers movie.
Yes,
the first Avengers movie. He's terrified of this Thanos. that we don't know. I mean, like those of us that knew the comics knew who Thanos was, but that you've never really seen him yet.
And I thought he was a villain that was built up for 6 years, 7 years,
and they delivered it.
And I thought they really delivered it. And they added some rules, like the whole thing that he had to close his fist.
Sure.
But I thought that was necessary to allow the Avengers a chance to win.
Yeah.
The whole battle on Titan doesn't take place if he doesn't have to close his fist to use the
There are moments in the movie where you feel like the Avengers could win this.
Yeah.
They really could do this. The whole scene when they're trying to pull the gauntlet off, and Star-Lord does his...
And they do get it off.
In his humanness, he does something stupid.
Sure.
Idiot.
But I don't know what the plan was after they got the gauntlet. They get the gauntlet off, and they're just
think they were just
yeah,
going
and
to
then what were they? Yeah.
What was the plan after
Guys,
that?
we got this gauntlet with a bunch of gems in it.
You still can't kill him, and then he proceeds to still punch everyone. And I'm just like,
I'm thinking you play monkey in the
least
middle
he
for a
can't
while.
I got it!
no, it's kill the carrier. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't Dr.
That is
Strange...
not the name I always call
Red
it.
Rover, let Thanos come over.
Speaking of Red Rover, did anybody... You guys played that game as kids and stuff, right?
Yeah.
How did nobody break an arm?
I'm
gonna link arms. Yeah. Now you run as fast as you can right here. If you're wearing a red shirt and you I was a big kid and I was like, all right, you're just barreling across the
I've
field.
seen people get knocked out.
It's like
I don't think this at 6. So I don't know how we can kill anyone.
you're like, what is going on? Actually, I kind of would love to see a Red Rover game involving like the Avengers. That would be great. Red Rover. If you're a spy,
you kind of did.
over.
You kind of did in Civil War.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
where they're both on each side, and then they're like,
It's just Hawkeye versus Hulk and Thor linking arms. I'd rather not do this.
It's Hulk and Thor, and Hawkeye's dangling there. It's just, I don't know what to do.
he's just hanging on the arms like this.
But I agree. I agree. If you're going, and I know why Tony doesn't agree with Thanos, because he's not a villain for the sake of being a villain. He's not evil.
True.
He's just.
I think they could have made him more aggressive and more.
And see, I think the fact that he's not
worked.
any of that makes him such a more incredible.
I think it was
villain.
good that they didn't do him like they did in the comics, where he's just out to kill people to prove his love for death. I think it was really good that he sees something wrong with the universe from his perspective.
And he's not wrong that it's wrong.
No.
Yeah.
And he, in his mind, he's the only one willing to do what it takes to
stop
fix it.
Yeah.
He's the only one. Not only with the power, but also with the will to do it. And he knows he's going to be the villain. He knows no one's going to like this. And he's like, I gotta do it to save the universe. Yeah. And instead of killing people, he says, I could just snap my fingers, they'll cease to exist, and I don't have
And here's
to kill
the interesting thing.
all these
Oh, this is the theory.
I
I was trying to remember the theory that I read that I couldn't remember. And I kind of like this theory, and I might just agree with it, that Thanos didn't know if when he snapped, he would be disintegrated or not. He just, but he was willing to do it anyway because he's trying to fix the universe. Right, so he's willing to, and that makes him an even more incredible villain because he's going, no one's going to like me.
Yeah.
And I might be giving myself to do this.
Right.
And one of the nitpicks I heard was why he didn't kill Tony Stark. And the point is, he's not out there trying to kill people.
Right.
He's not.
He's not a villain by that nature.
By that definition.
By that nature.
Tony
And
Stark
I
might be a
agree
special
with that.
case because he talks about knowing about
And he
him.
knows Stark.
Yeah.
He knows Stark and he has respect for Stark.
He has respect
But
for
he's
him.
also not out there trying to kill every single person.
Right. Now,
he's trying
if
to
he's
restore
got to
balance.
kill, he does.
Except for on the planet of Gamora's planet where
he has to.
But that was
he
before,
has to.
that was also before he had the stones, and that was his only way of balancing the universe. And now his idea is, if I have all the stones, snap, I don't have to do that.
And I know people are going to die, but this is the best way because it's fair,
It's painless.
it's fair, balanced chance.
It's like I'm killing half the universe now, and I'm saving everyone for the next 10,000 years.
And then hopefully somebody else has the power and the will to do this again.
He just needs to do this first time. That's his job today. It's
So
kind of like,
did we just make the Avengers like the villain of the
little
Avengers?
bit.
Well,
Well,
and
I
I
was
think
about
the
to quote
movie
Gandalf,
does
too.
present them not as villains, but as we know the Avengers, what they're doing is right because it's wrong to wipe out half the universe, but
you understand what
you understand. And so I agree. That's why he's my number 2 villain.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No.
We're going to move forward. We're going to move forward just a little bit.
Who's your number 2?
My number 2 is Grendel from Beowulf.
Who's your number 2?
I'm willing to roll with it if you guys are.
Now, you know what? Let's wait a second. Who's your number one?
I'm not going to say it.
No, please.
No, I'm not gonna.
Please.
No.
Hit us with your number one.
It's Sam Brush, isn't it?
It's Macbeth from Macbeth.
What movies are these?
Real movies that Beowulf and Macbeth are about films.
Who was making these films?
Here's the thing. Oh, and recently,
it's like these fourth theater majors.
Shakespeare.
No,
Shakespeare
it was
made Macbeth.
Recently, Macbeth was played by what's his name?
Me, I did it.
Ian McKellen?
No, not Ian McKellen. No, but the other guy who played Magneto, the younger version.
Oh, Fassbender.
Yeah, Michael Fassbender recently played Macbeth, and that was a decent rendition.
Didn't not Leo? Was Brad Pitt play Macbeth?
No, that was. Oh, maybe. I know.
I think he did.
Okay.
Also, you do realize it's
Troy.
a curse whenever we say that, right?
Yeah, I know he was in Troy.
We're not in theater, so it doesn't
only
matter.
if there's a stage.
There's a stage.
Only if there's a stage.
That's true. You guys can see this.
We're dead.
Hi.
So you picked a lot of classic, very, very classic villains.
Yeah.
My rationale, and actually it was weird because I actually found myself. This actually didn't end up happening.
I know it did. You picked
No. What ended up my fear was that we were going to come in and all of us go, all right, Joker, Darth Vader, and then it was going to be like Thanos, Loki, Vulture, or
we'd all pick villains of the past 10 years,
right? And then it was going to be, and then the last one would be the wild card.
But we've had a lot of flip flops here,
right? There's been a lot,
yeah.
And that was what I was because I had that discussion with like 12 other people, going, "Who's the best villain of all time?"
Oh yeah.
There's not a lot of good ones. So I said, well, let's look at the classics. And I'm like, Macbeth is a fantastic villain. He's a sympathetic villain. He is
because he's not a villain at the start of the play / movie.
But it's one of those. It's an Adam and Eve situation where it's like, oh well, she got him to go this far, but he took it and ran with it. And there's a line he has where he literally says, I'm so steeped in blood that my only option is just to move forward with it. And that's the mentality. I've seen that mentality play out in real life where it's like, I'm so deep into this bad thing here
that I gotta keep going.
I just gotta keep moving forward with it because there's no going back at this point. And so like that makes him such a complex. And I mean like he goes from hero to I'm murdering children.
Hero to zero, not zero to hero.
No, hero to zero. Yeah. And that's actually my favorite.
That's fair.
All-time play,
that's fair.
So.
Give us 2 and 1.
My 2 and 1. My second was Darth Vader.
Okay.
Which we've talked about.
Yes, so I won't go into that. And my number 1 was Joker.
Same. Heath Ledger's Joker.
Joker.
Are you also Heath
Ledger? I went with Heath Ledger's Joker and Palpatine.
Okay.
Was Palpatine your number 1 or your number 2?
Palpatine is my number 2.
Okay. So we all had Joker pretty early. Let's talk about Palpatine for a minute, and then we'll spend the very end of this talking about Joker.
I love Palpatine as a villain.
Agreed.
I think he is a cerebral killer. Not only when he was in the Senate.
Why do you keep saying this?
Because it's awesome.
Where does this term come from?
It's
he
awesome.
learned a new word today.
Cerebral.
Oh, I thought it was killer.
It means in your mind.
I was thinking about cerebrally, and yeah.
But let's take this for a little ride down memory lane.
Sure.
Emperor Palpatine in the Senate.
So good.
I am the Senate.
I am the Senate.
Now let's be honest. Let's be honest here. Palpatine in the original trilogy is not that imposing.
Not that imposing.
Palpatine it is one of the only great things about the prequel trilogy. Stop copying me. About the prequel trilogy.
Yes.
Prequel trilogy Palpatine is far superior to original. It's one of the only things.
Yeah.
Which, because you actually see him, his cunning, his smarts, his cerebralness.
His cerebralness for
his
me.
His cerebralness comes out of everywhere. It's coming out of the cracks.
But let's be honest here. You wanted to look for a villain who is good at brainwashing, who could make people do things for him that he could obviously do himself.
And he uses a different character in each movie.
He uses a different character in each movie where he manipulates people to do his bidding in every way possible.
Yep.
Right.
And then he continues to do it himself when he also does it with Darth Vader.
Yep.
And he also does it with...
I love that you see him... It wasn't just a coup one day that take over the government.
He steadily got more and more power.
He steadily got more and more power.
15 years, something
it was
like
crazy.
that.
Yeah.
And then eventually...
And then you see the end in the third movie. This is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause.
Boom.
I love that you just see the Republic die slowly at the hands of Palpatine.
And the thing is, too, it was so willingly...
Right.
Because...
That you can't say, whoa, how did this happen?
Well, it's like they wanted security.
And here's the thing with Palpatine. Palpatine was genius.